right, AEIS artists, welcome back. You'll notice still in the background I have Kimmy Contral's artwork still there to inspire us. So last we had looked at our drawing. Let me get my drawing. We did our drawing of what we wanted to create, and then we had to redraw each of these images onto another sheet of paper and cut them out. After they're all cut out, the next step, and I'm going to tilt my camera down, is to place them all on your clay. So I placed all of my pieces on my clay slab that I have. We're working with a slab. The tools that you have, the tools that you will be using are several ones. We'll have a little toothpick looking tool to score, to make little scratches in our clay when we attach. You might have a clay knife to cut out your pieces. I also have one of these pieces that we can use to trace around your templates, as they're called, the paper pieces. You might also have one of these skewer sticks, just a wooden stick. They break kind of easy, so I'm not sure how many I will have. But before we get started, so you're going to cut out all of your clay pieces and place them onto your clay slab. So all of the pieces that you're going to be using will fit on your clay slab. So we're going to have that ready. Everybody will have a styrofoam tray. You'll also have a little card, a little index card, and I want you to put your name and your teacher's name and probably where you sit on it in pencil. Because if you put it in Sharpie and put it on top of the clay, it might bleed, it might disappear. So put it in pencil and just leave it on your tray. Everybody also might have a plastic bag, because if you don't finish cutting all your pieces and attaching them today, you need to put them in a Ziploc bag so that the clay stays workable, okay? Because clay goes through a process. The first stage of our clay is kind of moist. And then after you work on your clay, we're going to let it air dry, and it becomes air dried and hard, but very breakable. And once it's air dried and all the air is out of it, I will then fire it. So we don't want it in a plastic bag so that I can fire it. And I will do that. And the next time you guys come to art in a couple weeks, it'll be ready to add glaze because I'll have fired it. But let's first go how we're going to attach our pieces. So the terms that we're going to look at is scoring, and you're probably going to use like a toothpick or some other tool that has some ridges on it to score. And then for slip, we're going to use a little cup with water in it. Now sometimes slip contains a little bit of clay, but water will work. We want to make sure that we stick our two pieces together and maybe smooth a little bit. So we are going to score, slip, and stick. So those are really the three we got to really think about: score, slip, and stick. The slip is like the glue. So you're going to arrange all of your pieces onto your clay slab, and then with a tool, I'm going to try and use this, you're going to trace around it. And I would probably start with the base, because we want to attach all, in fact, I'm going to switch to the knife. Okay, it's not a sharp knife, but be careful. I'm going to cut around the clay slab. I want you to be sure that you're not cutting you want to cut all the way through the clay, but don't carve into the styrofoam. Okay, the extra clay, we'll have little containers around to keep them in, because we can reuse the clay. So once your piece is done, I'm going to put my extra pieces in the bucket. And I'm going to have my design so I know what I'm doing ready. So this is my design. I'm going to have it out there so I know exactly how I want to do it. And I added some extra holes that I want to put in my clay piece, because I want to add some, possibly embellish, so add some little maybe pipe cleaners with some beads on it. So that's what I'm thinking, or some yarn, okay? So in those, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect, I think I'm going to put a hole, and you have to add your holes while they're wet. So I'm going to use this tool right here. Don't go too far, because if Don't get too close to the edge. Actually, I'm going to add the other hole once I'm done. That would be smarter. All right, so I have lots of other pieces to cut out, and I'm just going to take my time and cut each of them out, but I'm going to show you just a few of them. So this is one of the top pieces I have. Okay. Again, we want to score, so you're going to use this tool. First, place it where you want to place it. With this tool, you're going to outline where that will be. So I'm going to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. I placed this piece down. It's not attached yet. And with this little skinny tool will be our tracer. So I traced where I want it to go. Now in this section right here, I'm going to score it. I'm going to make some scratch marks. Okay. I'm going to dip my finger in the water and get it wet. We could use brushes. And now I'm going to press. So remember, our steps are score, slip is the water, and stick. So I scored it, I slipped it, I got it wet, and then I pressed it down or stuck it together, okay? So one more piece I'm going to cut out, and I need to have my design handy so I can see what I'm doing. I think I'll go all the way to I'll do the other ones. So I'm cutting out my next rectangular piece, getting rid of my extra clay, putting that where it belongs. I'm going to lay down my clay. So I put my second piece, you can see, down where I want it to go. I'm going to use this tool to trace around where it attaches. I'm going to pick up my little piece. Using this scratcher, I'm going to scratch where that outline was. So I'm roughing it up so that it sticks a little bit better. So I scratched. I'm going to stick my finger in the water. I'm slipping. And then I'm pressing. Now my clay pieces seem a little bit bigger. I wonder if I'll be able to get that third one. Again, I probably should have placed them a little differently. But, you know, in art, sometimes you just go with it. It's not always going to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be. So this is my third little rectangular piece. And you know what? It'll fit. I'm going to stick it up kind of off on an angle, so it's not going to match my design perfectly, but it'll be okay. So I'm going to place it there. I'm going to use my tracing stick to go around where I want to stick it. I'm going to remove. I gotta stand up so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to scratch. So you're just making it a little bit rough. Dip your finger, use the same finger. I'm using my index finger to get it wet. So using our slip and then lining it back up and gently pressing down. Okay, so these three pieces are now attached. I have scored, I have slipped, and I have pressed or stuck it together. It says stick. Stuck it together. I'm not going to do any smoothing because we're doing a relief piece, and the edges are going to be fine just the way they are. So you're going to continue adding all of your pieces. So you see that I have a bunch more to do. So I'm going to continue working, and you are going to continue working, and then we'll come back when all of my pieces are together. So enjoy adding now, working with your relief sculpture, adding those pieces that you've now created. Actually, I should have backed up, and before you start adding these pieces on the back of your clay, so on the back part, before you add anything, you're going to use this tool and put your name. So I'm going to carve in very lightly my name. I should have told you to do that as soon as you cut out your base. So as soon as you cut out your base shape, you turn it over before you start adding anything and write your name, okay? And then turn it back down and lay it on your styrofoam, and now you can then add your pieces. So enjoy. I can't wait to see what you all do. I'll keep working on mine, and we'll come back right before it's time to fire them. So enjoy working with your clay relief sculptures inspired by Kimmy Cantrell.